50 and over here in the Rosemont Dome. So it should be a pretty good ball game. A couple of upsets. These are the 3 and the 4 seed playing for the championship. We showed you the 100 proof game last week when they won in thrilling fashion against Chi-Town Ballers, and Thunder 5-0 beat the 55s, who were one of the heavy favorites. So it's always good to see the, I don't know if I'd call them underdogs, but here they are. So 100 proof will be the visitor. Thunder 5-0 will be the home team. And it should be a fun ball game. It's for all the marbles, as they say, here in the playoffs. And this is the end of the 50 and over season. So this is a variation of Chicago 16-inch style softball. First baseman and the pitcher can wear gloves. They don't have to, but they can. We are in a dome, all turf on the fields, very short fences, 210 down the lines, 235 to center, very short fence, only about 3.5 feet high. 60-foot bases, 38 from the pitching rubber to the point of home plate, 612 on the arc. I think last week they were playing open count. If the pitcher is not wearing a glove, he can take the drag step, 1 step right, left, or back. 2 fakes or hesitation. Third arm action must be to deliver the ball home. Throw or a fake is considered a fake or a hesitation. And there's last week's defensive star, Anthony, at first. If you haven't seen that game, go to the tail end of it. He made 2 spectacular catches. So here we go. Pete leading off for 100 proof. So it should be a fun ball game. A little chilly in the dome today. Line drive. Tommy Lentine can't make the catch. Of course, our first broadcast, his son, Tommy Jr., was playing in the men's league for Flashline. And here comes Dave Bradle. And Dave, one of the great dudes in the game. And Dave swings off the roof, caught by the shortstop for an out. That's the other factor here in the dome. If the ball hits the roof, you can catch it for an out. If it hits the carpet, it's all you can get. And you're only allowed 4 home runs because of the dimensions. So that'll bring up Will. And Will pops it on the infield. First baseman comes over and makes the catch. So Jeff Folgers makes the catch. And that's going to bring up Rollo, the left fielder. So in last week's game, 100 proof got out of the gate fast. Little ground ball to Tommy Matea, and he makes the play. So a little slower start this week for 100 proof. And we'll head to the bottom of the first, no score. So coming up here for Thunder, it's going to be Eric, Tommy, and Chris. So on the mound, Francisco Arenas, also known as Coach. And Cisco's done a great job with the SSA as he's brought a lot of kids into 16-inch softball in the Latino community. Having a little trouble with my comments, folks, so if I don't respond, I'm not ignoring you. There's a leadoff base hit for Eric as he slashes a single into center field. That brings up Tommy Lentine, excuse me. So leadoff man aboard here for Thunder 5.0. And I would think somewhere in Florida, Frank Stella, who ran both this group and Thunder's regular men's 16-inch, has probably got a cold one and has got his feet up and watching some of his former players go after a national championship. Or, excuse me, a championship. So Tommy Lentine draws a walk, and Thunder got a little something going on for Chris Miller. Of course, one year when Thunder won the 50 and over national championship tournament put on by the SSA, Chris and Tommy were co-MVPs. How about that? And they've played together a long time. Home plate jumping around a little bit on Francisco Arenas. And there's a long fly ball toward the gap. No one's going to get it. The outfielders run into each other. Will looks like he's shaken up. Two-run score on the triple by Miller. So first lead of the game. Will is up out there. Kind of collided a little bit there with the center fielder as they got a little crossed up on that high drive into the alley. And Thunder grabs the first lead of this championship game. And that's going to bring up Jeff Folger, the first baseman. And he hits a high fly ball. And he'll just stick that in his pocket. Easy tag and score for Miller. So 3-0 lead here very early in this contest. And that's going to bring up Tommy Matea. And Tommy slashes it, but it hangs up there, and the left fielder, Rollo, dropped the ball. He got there. Now he's rubbing his shoulder. I wonder if that's any type of a residual from... Yeah, the comment's not working today, folks, so I won't be able to get and respond to you. Here's John Dolby, the left fielder. So early lead here for Thunder. And Thunder's been a pretty good 50 and over team for many years. And there's a pop-up, and that hits the roof, but Josh Cias, the shortstop, hung right in there. And you could see right off of the bat, Josh was looking to get into the outfield. And now they're going to courtesy run for Tommy Matea, the leadoff man. Eric going to go out there and run. He brings up Billy Zaberski. And Billy, and that ball gets down. Bradle can't get to it. Another run scores, and Billy hustles into second with a stand-up double. So Thunder all business here in the first inning. And it brings up Don. And that pitch a little deep. So again, I can't comment on the comments as we're having technical issues with the secondary phone. But we do seem to have a good stream working here. So, and of course, Wednesday night out here we'll have the men's semifinal and championship game of the regular men's 16-inch. And this weekend, the SSA Kickoff Classic at Genera. And there's another hit, and Billy Z is chugging, cut off, and they score the 5th run. So Thunder riding that wave of momentum, and they won 16-7 over the 55s the other night, and then continue to pound the ball. And there's a line drive. Pete knocks it down, safe. He had a little bit more time there, but he rushed the throw a little bit. And Vinny ends up on first. So first and second now for Bobby Durst. And there's a hard ground ball, and that's going to sneak through. Another run scores. Will has a problem. And Dom ends up getting all the way to third. So another run in as Thunder has exploded for a 6th spot. Here in the bottom of the first, here's Hopper, and he drives it to the alley. And this time, Rollo makes the catch. So he hit it hard. Rollo got out there and made the catch. And we're going to head to the second. Thunder, big early lead here. Championship game for all the marbles. So you see the nice Sweet Buzz logo. Nick Drabo, who played in the first game tonight that we telecast, part owner. And Sweet Buzz is one of the brands from Dresco Farms. And if you use infused products, you might want to check them out. Of course, you have to be an adult. And please use them responsibly. So it's going to be Scotty Toothpick, Josh and Skip coming up here for 100 proof, and they got a little work to do here. And that ball is on the plate. And I see Sean Keneally got here late. Sean usually does the pitching for Thunder. And there's a swing and a fly ball, scrapes the roof, and it's going to drop for a hit. So it looked like the left fielder had a beat on it, but he just scraped the roof and came straight down. And he's looking at the center fielder and saying, what am I, nothing I could do. These older guys don't have to start and stop like the younger players do. So here's Josh Ciaz, 100 proof, just trying to put something on the board here. And there's a little flare, and that's going to be up in the netting. Try to brighten the picture up a little bit for you guys. And Josh, a little soft pop-up, and Bradle, who came in the courtesy run, had a hustle to get back. Billy, charging that little soft pop, made the catch.
Vinny, watch the gap. Line drive, Vinny, it's a line drive ball. Look, it's a line drive ball.
So this is Skip with Brad on deck. Again, they only had 4 teams in the 50 and over league. And there's a line drive, and nice try by Miller, way out in the outfield from his second base position, but he would not have had the play, and at best he might have been able to keep Bradle from scooting into third. But now you got runners on the corner for the big first baseman, Brad. So 100 proof. It's got a chance to break the seal. And Brad drives it, and that hits the roof. And they called it foul. And Brad wasn't too happy. Had it not hit the roof, I believe the left fielder would have made the catch. Again, it's always interesting in these dome games because you got so many factors that we don't have outside. Now Brad hits it hard, but little basket catch, and it looks like the outfielder forgot the outs, but runner at third did tag and score. He kind of underhanded that in. We're going to have to keep an eye on that left fielder to see if he's having any type of throwing issues. And that brings up the catcher, Jimmy. With Sean on deck. And Jimmy rifles it to third, knocked the third baseman over, but he recovers and makes a nice play. So great job there by the third baseman. Lost his balance on that hard hit ball, and from his knees just kind of slung it over there and got the out. So we head to the bottom of the second, 6-1 ball game. So a hard hit ball there, but right at the third baseman. And back at the top of the lineup is Thunder with Eric. And Eric shoots it the other way. Josh Cias makes the play. Josh still plays quite a bit. Member of the Big Red Machine. Francisco Arenas has had several versions of what began as the Creators. And this year they're going under Big Red Machine. And by all accounts, he should have a pretty solid A-team. And there's a swing and a base hit. Chris Lentine dumps it into center for a base hit. It brings up Chris Miller. Hit a booming drive to center fielder, and the two outfielders collided his last at-bat. And that started the merry-go-round in that bottom of the first. That led to 6 Thunder runs. So home plate has been jumping around on Coach a little bit. And you can usually tell how comfortable a pitcher is because when they start the game out and they're really taking advantage of the drag step, being aggressive, and sometimes if they're not feeling it early, sometimes you see them take less on the steps. Sean just gets Chris Miller, but Lentine does tag and go to second, or tag. He was off and running, obviously. And it brings up Jeff. So runner in scoring position, Thunder trying to get that run back that they gave up in the top half of this inning. And it is a little cool in here today. Of course, the weather out here in Chicago is taking a turn. We were 80 on Saturday, and we're in the upper low 50s today. And there's a little punch shot toward the alley in right center, and Jeff is going to scoot on back, but he does drive in the 7th run. So Thunder does respond. They get that run right back, and it brings up Tommy Mattea. Tommy, of course, you guys may remember him, longtime Crush guy. Played a lot of years with Mickey Balestri Sr. And just back. So Chris Miller, and that's my pet peeve, when the hitter walks up and doesn't swing, Chris telling Tommy, I thought you were swinging at that. And if you're a younger player, that's a good lesson there. Pete put that away for out number 3. Base runners will see you, and they anticipate a swing, and then when you don't, you hang them out to dry. So you got to get into the habit when you realize you're not swinging to say no. You got to let that hitter know that you're not going to offer at it. So we head to the top of the 3rd. So far, Thunder's been in control here.
Hey, good ball this way. Good ball this way. You can take that line to right center.
And that's going to bring up Sean and then Coach. And they might be hitting 12, so we may see Tony, who made those 2 defensive gems to save the game against Old School Ballers in the 7th inning. And Sean, a little soft swing, almost looked like he was trying to inside out it, but the ball got a little too far in and dropped the barrel and just hit a soft pop. Yeah, I don't think Tony is in the lineup because he's coaching 3rd. And there's a little ground ball by Coach. Chris Miller called him safe, pulled the big man off the bag. Can't teach speed, Coach. Francisco going to go into the Hall of Fame this year as a manager, one of our board members. So on behalf of the SSA, we'd like to congratulate him publicly for that. And here's the leadoff man, Pete. And Pete hits a pop-up. Right now, that's 100 proof, a lot of pop-ups and soft hit balls early in the game. And Tommy Lentine doing a good job there. So far, they haven't really barreled him up. And again, we are playing underhanded, but it's all just about trying to disrupt just enough. And Bradle, a little knuckleball into center field, and Bradle took the turn. Now they're going to send the runner. Aggressive coaching at 3rd by Tony as he waved him in, and he scores all the way from 1st on a little knuckleball single hit out into center field. And that brings up Will. And Will hits a little pop-up. And the right fielder comes in, caught it up against his chest. It bounced around a little bit, but he hung in there. But they do scrape a run across to make it a 7-2 ball game. And 100 proof is just a little jumpy. They're not getting a lot of fluid swings. It's almost as if they're a little off balance and reaching a little bit too much. So it's going to be John, Billy, and Don coming up here for Thunder. And again, it is 50 and over. I talk all the time that the last thing to go usually with these 50 and over guys is the ability to hit. Defensively, sometimes it can look a little rough. So when you jump out ahead of a team, you want to keep getting separation. Because a guy hits a ball off the roof, you get an error, the guy maybe stumbles a little bit, and the next thing you know, you're back in a dogfight. And there's a ground ball, and coach jumps that and makes an easy play. So here's Billy. Thunder 6 in the first, 1 in the second for their 7. 100 proof. 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and there's a little pop-up. Rollo makes that catch. So 2 up, 2 down brings up Dom. Takes that pitch outside. So coach grabs a strike there to get even. And that ball just ticked the plate. And there's a line drive, and nice play by Sean as he climbs the ladder to rob him of a base hit. So nicely done by Sean, backpedaling, reached up at the height of it, timed it perfectly, and takes a hit away. So nicely done there. And we're going to head to the 4th in a game that's pretty snappy, flying by. And if you are 100 proof, again, you got a little work to do here. They need to string some hits together. And it's going to be Rollo, Scotty, and Josh, 4, 5, 6 coming up here as we're approaching the halfway point of this championship game. And there's a long one. Going back is the left fielder, and he makes a catch about a couple of feet in front of the left field wall. And Rollo slapping his hands as he went by. I think he thought he maybe got a little bit more of it. And it brings up Scotty Toothpick. Scotty back to Tommy Lentine. So right now, 100 proof offense kind of stuck in neutral a little bit. It's not unusual sometimes. First time through the lineup with the older guys, especially because it's such a tight time frame out here. You don't really get a lot of swings in batting practice, and it is kind of chilly in here. Usually around the second time through the lineup, we start to see some better hats, and there's a foul ball. But right now, 100 Proof is making it a little too easy on Thunder, because they're not really challenging their defense very much. The majority of the outs have been in the air, and they have not been struck very well. So reset here on Josh Cias, 1 out here. And Josh drives it. That ball was hit well. It's going to roll all the way to the fence. Josh is chugging around. He'll make third as he triples up the alley in right center field. So that's one of the better hit balls by 100 Proof today. And with 1 out, Skip in the box with an easy RBI opportunity here. Now you got to make sure that you either drive it to the outfield or you put it on the carpet. Josh will score on the ground ball unless it's to the pitcher or maybe the third baseman. And that'll get the job done. Chris Miller, tough play, can't make it. And Skip does his job. He drives in the run and he gets himself on base. And I think I gave Thunder 1 run too many there. There we go. 7-3 for the big first baseman, Brad. And Brad has got a little pop. And there he crushes it down the line, and it's fair. So it banged down fair, and it hit the foul pole. So Tommy Lentine now is saying that it hit the foul pole, which is above the fence line, so they're going to call that a ground rule double. And no run scores on the play, so it's still 7-3. And it brings up Jimmy, so Brad went for it. Shot it right down the corner, fair by about 2 or 3 feet, hit the carpet and banged off that foul pole. So they got identical looking foul poles. You can see how it's got that wing on it. And if that's not there, it would have clearly bounced over. So now Jimmy's up. And Jimmy off the roof called it foul. It did land in fair territory, but hit the roof in foul territory. So 100 Proof trying to work themselves back into the ball game here. This is a big hitter, to say the least. A base hit can make it 7-5. And Tommy being very careful to Jimmy. And Jimmy goes hard. It does not hit the roof. And the outfielder makes a sliding catch just into foul territory to end the threat. So 7-3, I believe, is the correct score. And Jimmy hit it hard. Didn't get no love. Halfway through, 7-3. So Thunder 6 in the first, 1 in the second. 100 Proof now has got solo runs in the second, third, and fourth. And if they want to win this ball game, they're going to have to find a way to get an inning where they put a crooked number up there. So it's Vinny, Bobby Durst, and Hopper coming up. That's, I believe, the wrong inning. It should be the bottom of the fourth. And there's a high pop up on the infield. Pete puts it away for out number one. And he'll bring up Bobby Durst. Bobby, another guy, a long time Thunder guy. Good friends with Frank Stella. Frank getting into the Hall of Fame this year as a manager. How about that? I think I said Francisco was getting in as a manager, but he's getting in as an organizer. And Frank's put a lot of tournaments together, both before and since he's become an SSA board member. And that ball was hit the roof in fair territory. Good job by Cias to track it. So 2 outs, and it brings up Hopper. And he smoked the ball that Rollo caught his last time up. Takes a strike there. And Hopper goes opposite field, and he dumps a hit in front of Dave Bradle. So 2 out base runner. And that brings him to the top of the lineup in Eric. Again, I think if you're Thunder, right now your cushion is that first inning. You don't want to sit on that 7. Because even though 100 proof has only put up single runs, there looks like they're slowly but surely starting to hit the ball a little better. And that ball knocked down by Cias, he thought about it and then realized discretion, the better part of valor there. And it brings up Tom Lentine. So after the first 2 hitters went up and down, with 2 outs here, they got a little something cooking with Tom Lentine. Tommy will be going over to money line this year with Chris Miller. His money line had to retool a little bit this offseason. And you'll want to check us out on Saturday. Hopefully the weather cooperates. But a lot of the bigger teams will be out there, and it's our first real kind of look at them. And Lentine slashes a liner, but Pete right on the spot. So Tommy hit it hard. Pete made a little basket catch about thigh high. And now we'll head to the top of the 5th. So 100 Proof's defense has been okay. They're hanging in there and making the plays so far. And now they just need their offense to kind of catch up a little bit. So it's going to be Sean Frank in the top of the lineup with Pete coming up here. So 10-11-1. So we're about 39 and counting minutes into this ball game. And Sean swings, he hits it toward the alley, that's down. He's going to head into second. Is he going to try third? He is. And the throw way offline. leadoff triple for Sean. So it looked like 100 Proof was starting to get some better swings. And Sean drove that up the alley. That's the other thing we notice about the 50 and over guys is, especially here with the turf, if you hit a ball in the alley, it's difficult. And Francisco Arenas, helping his own case, delivers a base hit to make it a 7-4 ball game. So that's what you need if you're hunting a championship. You need the bottom of your lineup to pitch in, and 10 and 11 produce an instant run, and that brings up the top of the order. So Tommy didn't like that. He thought he had thrown a strike. And P hits a little roller, Chris Miller, and they don't handle it. And now the base runner was assuming the ball was going to get caught, and little base running mistake there. Jimmy was anticipating the catch. The ball went through Billy's hands, and he, again, a lot of these guys, you know, at this age, they don't slide as much. And by not sliding, he overran the bag, and so what could have been a first and second, nobody out, is just a runner on first. And here's Bradle, and I don't know, that might have just scraped the netting. I couldn't tell. Third baseman got over there, looked like he was going to have a play, and then all of a sudden, looked like that ball might have just changed directions. And looked like Bradle was trying to muscle up there. And Bradle hard on the ground. Matea's just going to come to first. Runner did advance and go to second. So with 2 outs now, brings up Will, 100 Proof, looking for a run, trying to get a little closer. Again, this has been their problem in this ball game. They have been putting up single runs. They have not had a multiple run inning, and as the great Earl Weaver used to talk about when he was managing the Baltimore Orioles, was most of the time your biggest inning is more runs than the other guy scores. And that's a ground ball back to the mound for the third out. So we head to the bottom of the fifth. Of course, back when Earl Weaver was there, the Orioles were throwing out 4 20-game winners and weren't giving up a lot of runs. And the Orioles were known for trying to hit 3-run bombs all the time. A little trivia, the older guys watching get it, but I'm sure there's some younger guys saying, who the hell is Earl Weaver? So we go bottom of the fifth. Chris Miller, Jeff Folgers, and Tommy Matea leading off here. 2, 3, 4. If you're 100 Proof, this inning's going to have a few red flags for you. You got basically the top of the order here, and you're managed to get the lead down to 3 here. You'd like to find a way to keep it here. So again, all 4 runs for 100 Proof coming in 4 different innings. And there's a swing and a knuckleball into center field for a base hit. Chris Miller got a high pitch, kept his hands and the barrel level, and and just guided it over the infield. And that's beautiful hitting and great back control. So here's Jeff. So even though Thunder's been in control, their offense kind of slowed down a little bit. And they're allowing 100 Proof to work themselves back into this ball game. And Jeff a chopper, and they do get the fielders. Oh, they called him safe. We'll take a quick look at a replay, and you guys can judge whether or not he held the bag or not. And that looks like a big break there for Thunder, as Pete really wasn't that far off the bag. It was an awkward play because Coach bobbled it a little bit. Here's Matea. And then Pete reached down and made a great play as Coach kind of spiked the throw, and it sure looked like on that replay he held the bag, and Matea dumps a single, and now that call looms even bigger as they scored the 8th run, and now they got runners on the corner. The difference there would have been on that base hit, it would have been first and second. And it brings up John Dolby. So now if you're a coach, you got runners on the corner, nobody out, and you got to figure out a way to try to get out of this and minimize the damage. And there's a long one. Going back is Rollo, and he makes the catch in front of the fence. What a catch. A run does score, but without that catch, the merry-go-round would have been spinning. I don't know if you can see it on your big screen TV, you probably could. But the 9th run does score, and Thunder's played it too. And again, that call is another example. Runner on second might have been able to tag, but both runners thought that was over the head. So there's a base hit, and there would have been 2 outs in the inning now. So instead of them having 2 this inning, with that hit, they probably would have got 1. And there's a little ground ball. Pete found a way to knock it down. So now the bases are loaded. So a little ground ball looked like it was going to sneak through, but Pete made a nice play. And that brings up Vinny. And Vinny, ground ball. And Sean, high throw, and he gets back to the bag, but another run scores. And the big first baseman had a stretch out there, did a great job of making sure he got the foot back on the bag. 10-4 ball game now. Brings up Bobby Durst, and a base hit here could put them up and give them the biggest lead of the night. Right now they're at 6, which is what the score was at the end of the first, 6-0. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier about 100 Proof. They're making it too easy on the defense. And Thunder has been making 100 proof work. And they've gotten a couple of breaks on some ground balls and a call, but when you're hitting fly balls, you don't get that chance. One run is in. Here comes the second run. 12-4. So Thunder has opened it up here in the fifth. And it brings up Hopper. And you can tell the body language now for 100 proof versus Thunder's. And Hopper goes high. Rollo moves back and makes the catch. But you could see the difference in the body language. Everybody on the sideline for Thunder was up and in the ball game, and some of the shoulders were starting to droop a little bit on 100 proof. So we're going to head to the sixth. It's getting a little late if you're a 100 proof fan. And they need a crooked number like a drowning man needs a life preserver. So it's going to be Rollo, Scotty, and Josh, 4, 5, 6. And this is really the half inning. If you're 100 proof, you don't want to go into the seventh. And there's a hot shot. Nice scoop by Mateo as he went down and came up with that little short hop and made the play. And brings up Scotty Toothpick. You can tell on the 100 proof sideline, it looks like they're still talking about that call, and Scotty Toothpick slashes a hit over the top of the third baseman for a 1-out single. It brings up Josh Cias. And Josh slashes it, and the first baseman reached up with the glove just above the bill of his cap and made the catch. So Josh, trying to walk that dog hard down the right field line, just didn't elevate it enough. And that brings up Skip. And Skip hits a ground ball. Chris Miller makes the plays. So we're going to head to the bottom of the sixth. Thunder, a couple of runs here, and we'll be in the mercy rule area. And just as a reminder, if you're a Class A or a Class B team, check out a couple of posts down for the posts we put up with the programming and reminder, and check out the flyer for the SSA Tom Egg-Zarnick Class A No Glove National Championship Tournament, complete with a $75 entry fee up at Olympic Park in Schaumburg, coming up June 26th through the 28th. I know the flyer says the 25th, but we're not sure whether or not the tournament would start on a Thursday. It is not. It is starting on a Friday. So here's Eric, top of the lineup, and he hits a little soft fly ball for out number one. And it's a great opportunity. They're putting turf on the infields in Schaumburg. New scoreboards, gorgeous facility. So you're going to want to jump in there and try to win yourself a national championship. There will be prize money. Teams get plaques, a trophy, national championship hats, and the response has been excellent on that, and that may rival the Carroll Stream Glove A National Championship, which of course is the biggest 16-inch national championship tournament anywhere on the planet. And it's only right that we have a no-glove national championship tournament to rival that. So here's Chris Miller now. As Tommy Lentine gets a base hit. I was joking with Chris the other night. He came out here and he had a triple header, which ain't easy as you get older. He played in the men's, he had a doubleheader, and then he had a 50 and over game. And Chris goes big, and that drops, and Will's struggling with it. Tommy's going to score, and Chris will end up at third. So now they're a base hit or an error away from ending the ball game and winning this championship. We don't see Chris usually muscle up. And here comes Jeff Vogler. He could end this thing with a base hit or an error. Should only be one out. So there's only one out, and realistically, they should be walking Vogler and Matea. And I think you got to walk another guy here. I think you got to walk Tommy Matea, because then you got the force out at the plate. Double plays are very tough to turn, and on a ball hit back to the mound, you might want to throw it home for the force. They're going to courtesy run for Vogler, which puts even more pressure on. And that's what they're telling him on the bench, is to walk Matea, and that's what they're going to do. Now there's only one out here. Brings up John Dolby. A fly ball will end the ball game. Now, if you're a base runner here, you got to be aware of the fact that on a base hit, you must advance. Because if you hit it and the other runners in the batter don't run, they can lob it in and get a double play, and that run won't count. So Francisco Arenas, that does put pressure on your pitcher. And he jumped up, and there's a bullet. Game over. Thunder wins 14-4. They were all business. 6 in the top of the first, and you can see they threw the ball in because the runner wasn't advancing, but that would have only been the second out of the ball game. So congratulations to Thunder 5.0. Somewhere in Florida, Frank Stella's got a big grin on his face as they come out and take care of business. Dominated the game from the very start, and they win 14-4. So that is your 50 and over championship team, and we'll try to get a picture of them. And